Behind me is the Coliseum, the stadium the A's have been wanting to leave. But where were some of the places in the Bay Area that the A's proposed to build a new ballpark?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we follow your Oakland A's all season long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a long time, and I'm wrapping up this year at the Locked On Podcast Network, hosting both Locked On A's and Locked On MLB. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. FanDuel this summer is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Yeah, that's the Coliseum behind me. The A's have been drooling to get out of here for a long time. And there have been great proposals for stadiums all across the Bay Area. Usually here in the East Bay, some in the South Bay, all over the map. They have two things in common. There are very beautiful drawings made of all these proposed stadiums. The other thing they have in common is they were never built. That's why we're stuck there for so long and are now going to be sleeping on the couch in Sacramento before, I don't know, maybe going to Las Vegas. But where were some of those places? Why didn't they happen? And what went wrong? Well, let's leave the Coliseum and go bouncing around the Bay Area to see some of those places where the A's could have called home. In the early 2000s, the Raiders moved back to the Oakland Coliseum, and the stadium was rebuilt in favor of the team that had left Oakland a generation before. The new design stadium was disastrous for baseball, and the crowds dwindled to nothing. Even though the team was quite competitive, if you don't believe me, watch the movie Moneyball. It became clear the A's needed to build a new ballpark, and they were jealous of their cousins across the bay, as the Giants built brand new Pac Bell Park, which replaced the dreadful Candlestick Park. Now if a team was going to leave the area, it was going to be the A's, unless they could find a new stadium. The first proposed stadium was to be built in uptown Oakland. But Jerry Brown, the mayor of Oakland at the time, thought that money and resources in uptown Oakland should have been spent on housing and schools. You know, he was funny that way. Right here is Estuary Park. This was one of the early proposals for the A's to build a ballpark. Right around here, or maybe it was here. It was never 100% clear where they expected to build a park here. It was probably going to be pretty near the water, but there's also no public transportation here, environmental issues, and quite frankly, it's completely impractical. There's no ballpark there. To the best of my knowledge, they didn't make any drawings either. They went back to the drawing board for the next proposal. This is where the A's should be playing. In San Jose, right nearby the transit center. This area right behind me here has been looked upon as a possible resting place of a baseball park for over generations. San Jose was a growing city in the 1980s, and right now of the three major population centers of the San Francisco Bay Area and Silicon Valley, San Jose is the greatest population. It's got an international airport, many big corporations are here, huge population. Doesn't have the hills of San Francisco, doesn't have the bay they have to deal with. Has a lot of parking, a lot of land. And this area here, as you probably see, that's the train station. Hey, look what we got over there. We got a bus station. We got a highway. We got all the different forms of transportation all in one area. And also enough space to put a baseball stadium. This is why the Giants, when they were basically playing footsie with the city of San Jose, back in the late 80s, early 1990s, were considering here to be the resting place of the Giants, before eventually they wound up in, by China Basin and McCovey Cove. And this place, as you can tell, still does not have a Major League Baseball stadium. San Jose is a no-brainer of a location. But because of the fact that when the Giants were looking to move to San Jose, for reasons that still escape me, the San Francisco Bay Area had the different regions, different physical regions, chopped up into marketing and television rights that were exclusive to one team or another. That doesn't exist in New York, it doesn't exist in Chicago, but for some reason exists here. The Bay Area was, for reasons that currently elude me, were exclusively the rights of the Oakland A's. While the Giants were looking for a new stadium, they worked out a deal and the A's relinquished the rights to San Jose. The A's thinking was, hey, if the Giants move from San Francisco to San Jose, maybe we could siphon off all those fans in nearby San Francisco across the Bay Bridge and increase their attendance. Now, when the Giants decided not to build here in San Jose, they did not revert the rights back to the A's. They built Oracle Park and kept the rights for here. So when the A's were saying, hey, you know that big area where the Giants were thinking about maybe putting a baseball stadium way back when? How about we do that? And the Giants say, no. We want to have our advertising and television rights down there, and you can't do anything with it. Of course, that makes no sense. It's arcane. It's using the TV rights and territorial rights that would have made sense in the 1960s, but doesn't make sense in the high-tech world of the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. And you would think that people would understand the high-tech world, seeing that we're in freaking Silicon Valley. And so the A's could not move to San Jose, even though anybody could see that's where they belong. And if you wonder if whether or not a team could exist in this part of the Silicon Valley, look right behind me. That's the Shark Tank. That's where the San Jose Sharks play. Right back there. The Sharks have drawn very well, are incredibly popular here in Silicon Valley, mainly because in terms of sports, they literally put this city on the map. Most people didn't know where the heck San Jose was. Hell, Dionne Warwick wrote an entire song about not knowing where the hell San Jose was. But with the inclusion of the Sharks, who play here in San Jose, and not in Oakland where people thought they would have, and not in San Francisco, suddenly everyone realized where the heck San Jose was, at least sports fans did. This would be the ideal place to put a baseball stadium. And the folks in Silicon Valley loved having the hockey team, even though hockey had virtually no following in the San Francisco Bay Area. Fine, we'll learn how. We'll learn how it's played. And guess what? The naming rights of the arena right there that I'm pointing to, people on YouTube can see me pointing at it, has changed over the time. It was a Compaq Center, and then it was the Hewlett-Packard Pavilion. I guess it changed from a center to a pavilion. Now it's the SAP Center, went back to being a center. Of course, all that's wasted money. Everyone just calls it the Shark Tank. But the fact of the matter is this. There's big corporate money down here. There's huge Silicon Valley tech money down here. And right behind me is enough space to put a baseball stadium. The hockey arena shows that people are willing to come down here to see games. The transit shows that people are willing to go on a train up and down, take the Caltrain from all points of the peninsula to come to the ballpark here. And San Jose would support a team just like they've supported the hockey team back there. And all because of some arcane and completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Obsolete. There you go. Just made that one up on the fly. Obsolete ruling about territorial rights that have no relevance in this world. The A's can't move here. And if we had a commissioner, and it's been a while since we've had one, they would have stepped in for the good of the game. Commissioners have stepped in the good of the game from time to time. Remember how they came in, and when all hell was breaking loose with the Dodgers and the McCourts, they forced the Dodgers to sell because, for the good of the game, it was worth it to not have the Los Angeles Dodgers filing for bankruptcy. They also forced the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles to come up to an agreement when the Nationals were moving in and encroaching on Baltimore's rights, television rights. And that made more sense. The Baltimore Orioles had a much bigger gripe to have when the Nationals showed up and took over their TV markets, when most of Washington were following Baltimore Oriole games. So they had a reason to gripe. But the A's have been here since 1968. That's longer than I've been on this earth, and I'm 51. So the fact of the matter is, the A's, whether they move from Oakland to San Jose, isn't really encroaching on any of the television watching rights of any San Francisco Giant fan. Besides, they won't be able to watch any of it on their device anyway, because they're blacked out because of local blackout restrictions. But that's the subject of another video. They should be the San Jose A's. There's no valid reason why they shouldn't be the San Jose A's. This is exactly where the team should be. It's borderline equidistant from San Francisco to Oakland. Oakland fans could make the journey here, and it could be the team of the Silicon Valley, the South Bay, and still have that proverbial chip on their shoulder that you're not San Francisco and we're going to show them. But because of a deal that the Giants made when they were thinking about building here, a deal they didn't go through on, the A's are stuck in limbo. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at Ibotta. Do you know what? The summer is winding down, but do you know what? You need to sometimes get ready for that final barbecue of the season. And you can stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibotta. So you won't have to choose between burgers and hot dogs. You can get both. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you could make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. But with Ibotta, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or to gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you've joined the over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play and download the free Ibotta app and start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in Google Play or the App Store and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. It is Ibotta. Come on, everyone. Let's put some cash in the pockets. We're going to hear from our friends over at FanDuel. This is a great time to be a sports fan. This whole summer has been. We had basketball playoffs. We had hockey playoffs. Baseball is, wire to wire. And, of course, you got the summer games going on, and you're watching everyone going for the gold. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up bets anytime that I am in the mood. Now, this summer, by the way, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So this is a reminder that your second listen every day should be more of me. That's right. You can check out Locked On MLB podcast every day, Prepare for the Fall Classic with me. I've got it covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to do the search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. When the whole thing fell apart for the A's in San Jose, things looked pretty bleak for the A's. However, then owner Lou Wolf thought he came up with a creative loophole. The giant stranglehold on the San Jose region meant they couldn't build a stadium in Santa Clara County, but they could in Alameda County. So, enter Fremont. Fremont is a large town that's still in Alameda County, but right next to San Jose. Would fit in the purview for maybe building a stadium right over there, near Pacific Commons and the Auto Mall Parkway. There was enough room to build it, and there was a lot of shopping, there's a lot of apartment buildings, and there was a lot of money. Guess who wanted to join the party? Cisco, a huge tech company based in Silicon Valley, was going to pay a big chunk of the price of the stadium in exchange for the naming rights. That's right, it was going to be Cisco Field. And maybe the A's would have kept the Oakland A's title, kind of like the fact that the Buffalo Bills don't really play in Buffalo, or for that matter, the San Francisco 49ers don't really play in San Francisco. Heck, the New York Giants and New York Jets don't even play in the state of New York. So that would have been the home of the Oakland A's, San Jose A's, Fremont A's. Who cares? They would have been here. And there was a lot of room to build a stadium. It was near 880, near the Dumbarton Bridge, near a lot of homes, and near a lot of money. However, Fremont is not San Jose. It is not San Francisco, and it is not Oakland. It's not that big of a place. And a lot of the local government started thinking, hey, wait a minute, we're going to be kicking in a lot of money for a stadium that we can't really afford. Wouldn't that land be better off being used for something else? And in 2007, the A's proposed it. They had beautiful drawings. The renderings were fantastic. They even invested $20 million towards the development before they put a single shovel into the ground. Turns out, it didn't happen. Fremont said no, and that land is now owned by Amazon. Not a ballpark. But the drawings were really beautiful. So it was time to look for someplace else. That's Jack London right there. This is Jack London Square. The place is named after him. Jack London Stadium sounds like the nice name of a ballpark. And the A's actually proposed to build a ballpark here back in 2010. It's actually one of the most intriguing proposals for a potential A's stadium for them to stay in Oakland. It's a idyllic and iconic part of the city. There's lots of terrific restaurants. It's been built up to have condos and businesses, lots of people walking around. Problem was, environmental issues to build a ballpark here were troubling, as was the cost. So despite the fact that they could have had a beautiful waterfront stadium and honor the guy who wrote Call of the Wild, this ballpark proposal was abandoned. This is Laney College, a small liberal arts college here in the East Bay, and was the site of another proposed A's stadium. Actually, they weren't going to build it here on the campus. They're going to build it across the street over there. There are lots of parking lots and container areas, and also the administrative buildings for the Peralta Community College District. Things that could be easily bulldozed over for a stadium. It's actually in a nice part of town. There's water nearby, and it's near downtown Oakland. The A's put together a proposal in 2017 to build a ballpark here. There were a lot of conceptual designs. The drawings were very pretty. All this behind me would have been knocked down, and this is where the stadium would have been. These are some of the administrative offices of the community college. And I guess the A's thought it would be a pretty easy buy. And seeing that there was already a lot of buildings and traffic going along here, perhaps this would have been, I don't know, a done deal. It turns out, as you can tell, there's no A's stadium right there. Something must have gone wrong. As expected, there were problems with funding, and there was problems with environmental issues, but most importantly, there was problems with Laney College, who didn't necessarily want to have a Major League Baseball stadium parked right next to their school. It's funny, they have a baseball field right over there. It's actually kind of nice. Maybe the A's could have played there. But despite the fact that this was a place to be able to put a ballpark in a nice part of the town, near a nice college, near downtown and a major highway, this proposal didn't get any further than some nice pretty drawings and a premature announcement via Twitter that this was going to be the spot of the new A's stadium. They are building here. They're building for the college. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24-hour access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every single time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free TradeMaster program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the TradeMaster program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. That site again is supplyhouse.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen every day. Your second listen, enjoy more of me, your pal Sully, at Locked On MLB. I'm here to provide you the national expertise, and you know what? We try to have some fun too, to get you ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days this summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me. I've got it covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Finally, the A's proposed to build a waterfront ballpark on the Port of Oakland, specifically Howard Terminal. You see all those big cranes and everything going on behind me. That's where they bring in many tankers and containers are brought here and emptied out in the Port of Oakland, which I assume would be one of the, biggest money makers in the city and biggest employers. Lots of containers, lots of boats come here. The proposal was to build a ballpark at Howard Terminal, a place I couldn't quite get to by car, which is a bad sign if you want to have a lot of people show up to your ballpark. But, as always, the drawings were amazing, spectacular even. And the main thing they wanted to do was to take one of these areas by the Port of Oakland and turn it into some sort of brand new, community? A brand new place where there was going to be houses, there was going to be restaurants, there was going to be businesses, and there was going to be lots of foot traffic in this place where I couldn't get to by car. Now, the drawings were tremendous, and it looked like it was going to be, the perfect setting for an Oakland A's ball club, to show the pride of Oakland, to show the Bay, and to have a baseball-only ballpark to honor the team's great tradition of innovation and a victory over several different decades. There were a lot of problems. The cost of it was going to be roughly a lot. In a city which sometimes has trouble paying their teachers and firefighters and police officers, and believe me, when I drove to this spot here, I went over a lot of potholes that were not filled up. It's the best use of money to build a ballpark for the Oakland A's. Another big thing, as I mentioned before, these big cranes you see behind me, those big containers you see being taken off. This is a main part of Oakland. You know, goods coming in, jobs, money flowing into the city. And they need the port here, I don't know, more often than 81 home games. Taking away some of this area for bringing in shipments of goods from all over the world so the A's could have a baseball palace, is that the best use of this land? Is the best use of Oakland's main source of income and importance in the world, it being a thriving port? Look at all those boxes. Where are they? Right over there. You see them? Chances are you are using stuff that have been brought through the port of Oakland, imported from all over the world. Are we going to stop? Are we going to take away some of this space to build an A's ballpark? And yeah, they wanted to copy what the Giants have with Oracle Park, which is a waterfront stadium. And believe me, Oracle Park, which is in San Francisco, right across the bay, is as beautiful a ballpark as there is in the world. Probably the best overall baseball ballpark I've ever seen. But there was no thriving port at China Basin where they built when it was originally called Pac Bell. Yes, their ballpark would be by the water if they build it here. Why is the port by the water? Well, an independent study that I commissioned showed that boats travel well on water. And when you have a big, huge tanker coming from Asia or from all over the world, it's best that they arrive via water and the port. That's one reason why the Bay Area exists and has been thriving ever since people were panning for gold. It's a good port. It's a good place for boats to come in and out of and deliver stuff. You see that behind me? Right over there? That's stuff. And that stuff is not filled with A's souvenirs and A's hats and A's We're Number One foam fingers. There are all sorts of other goods, including probably this selfie stick that I'm currently holding. But for a while, this looked like was the last hope for the Oakland A's to stay in Oakland, was to build a park somewhere on Howard Terminal. But this is what it turned into, a big he said, she said situation. Literally. The mayor of Oakland ramming heads with the commissioner of baseball. Who was telling the truth? Commissioner of baseball claimed the city of Oakland never offered a real proposal. Well, we know who's telling the truth because the mayor of Oakland kept receipts. And apparently they did over and over again. I never understood why in this region that's flowing with money and high-tech companies, why this couldn't be funded privately. It also never made sense to me that they would build it here. There were issues that were beyond simple economics. Environmental issues were here as well. You notice this area back there? It's on the water. You know, that's usually where you put ports, by the water. There were animals that could be displaced by a ballpark. Also, the land around a port isn't always the most stable. Do you know why? It's by the water. So if you were going to build a city, not on solid land, but what is essentially landfill by the side of a port, that could cause some problems. If you're going to try to build apartments and you're trying to build public transportation and businesses and restaurants and other places that you would want to have around essentially a city by a port, that would require environmental studies that weren't always coming up the way that you would want them to. This is ideal for bringing in a big old boat and dropping off the stuff. It's not necessarily designed for a city for the A's. And as it turned out, it's probably not going to be. The drawings that they made were really, really pretty. It looked like a nice stadium. And it also is probably not going to happen. The A's pulled out basically saying, do you know what? It's not going to work here. And while I wanted the A's to stay in Oakland, I don't see how this would work. That's marsh. You're going to put a city on marsh? I don't know if you know this. We have earthquakes here from time to time. Maybe you remember there was one that took place during the last time the A's won a World Series in 1989. I was here. It was big. Caused some damage. You really want to put a city and a stadium on not the most stable land in the world just because the view would be pretty? Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. And while I believe the city of Oakland more than I believe the commissioner of baseball, which is not saying a lot, I don't believe this would have worked. The drawings are pretty, but it's not realistic. And so Howard Terminal fell through. Metaphorically, I must add. In the end, brings us back here to the Oakland Coliseum, where they played out the string, and they're going to be playing out the string this season. Brent Rooker and company are going to call that place home before heading to Sacramento, and Lord knows what's going to happen after that. You know where they should be building a stadium is right there. There's plenty of room in the parking lot. It's not like they're going to have a Raiders stadium here anytime soon. It's close to the highway. It's close to the airport. It's close to BART. There are lots of great ways to come here, and you won't be displacing a neighborhood. It should have been right there, right where I'm pointing. But it didn't happen. Fremont could have worked. Laney College could have worked. I'm not sure about by the yards there, by the harbor. But Jack London Square would have been nice. San Jose could have worked. But none of them did. And now we're going to see what happens. Oh, what could have been. If only the Fishers had any money to build it themselves. That's a shame. But let's play out this season and go to at least one more game there. I know I will. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Hopping all over the Bay Area and seeing places where they drew very pretty pictures but never built a ballpark. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.